Consider something strange. There are moments in life fear stands at the door, like a giant. Not because the thing before you is always impossible, but because something inside of you knows once you walk through this, you will not be the same person. Fear speaks in the language of tomorrow. It says, what if you fail? What if you lose? What if they see you fall? And what if the life you're trying to build collapses in your hands? And yet, beneath all that noise, there is another voice. The voice that says, stand up, take the first step, face what is in front of you. You are not made to be ruled by shadows, because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is what happens when the soul remembers its assignment, even while the body is afraid. Welcome back, my fellow stranger, to another episode of Traversing the Strange World. And it's me, your host, Isaiah Danbury. You're listening to another Monday Morning with Peace. And today, I got 5 more mantras for you. Today, the mantras are going to focus on courage and overcoming fear. So let us traverse these mantras. And our first mantra comes from the great Marcus Aurelius. Let not the future trouble you, for you will come to it, if come you must, bearing with you the same reason which you are using now at the present. Or it might say more plainly, do not let tomorrow become a tyrant over today. Marcus was not writing this from a comfortable room with nothing to fear. He was an emperor. He knew war. He knew betrayal. He knew sickness. And he absolutely knew responsibility. He knew what it meant to wake up with the weight of the world pressing against your chest. And still, his philosophy was this: the future does not need your panic. Because when tomorrow comes, you will not meet it empty-handed. You'll meet it with the same reason you have now. The same breath, the same ability to pause, the same ability to choose your response. The same soul that has survived every difficult thing that brought you to this moment. Fear wants you to believe that the future is a battlefield where you will arrive weaponless. But Marcus reminds us you are already carrying the weapon. You are carrying your reason. You are carrying your discipline. You are carrying your memory of what you have already overcome. So the first mantra is this: I already carry the tools to meet what comes. Not because everything will be easy, but because fear lies when it tells you you are helpless. And mantra number 2 comes from Aristotle. Aristotle gives us a more grounded picture of courage. He does not describe courage as fearless. He says courage is the virtue that lives between 2 extremes: cowardice on one side and recklessness on the other. Aristotle once said that courage is a mean of concerning fear and confidence, that the courageous person endures frightening things because it is noble to do so. That matters because we confuse courage with being wild. We think courage means having no fear. We think courage means charging into everything with your chest out, pretending nothing can touch you. But Aristotle would say that is not courage. That is recklessness. And on the other side, we confuse fear with wisdom. We tell ourselves, I'm just being realistic. I'm just being careful. I'm just waiting for the right time. But sometimes what we call caution is really cowardice wearing a mask to look respectable. The courageous person is not the person who feels nothing, who never feels fear. The courageous person is the one who learns how to fear rightly, to fear the right thing, at the right time, for the right reason, in the right measure. Because not every fear is an enemy. Sometimes fear protects you. Sometimes fear humbles you. Some fear tells you to slow down and count the cost. Other fears are thieves. They steal your calling, they steal your voice, and they steal your honesty. So Aristotle asks us to become mature with fear. Not to worship it, not to ignore it, but to place it under the command of virtue. And that gives us our second mantra. I will feel rightly and act nobly. And now we come to our third mantra, which is from Krishna. Krishna speaking to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is standing in the battlefield, and before the battle begins, he breaks. His hands tremble. His mouth dries. His courage leaves him. He looks at what is in front of him, and he wants to retreat. And Krishna tells him, yield not to weakness. It does not become you. Shake off this petty faint-heartedness and stand up. This line matters because Krishna does not pretend Arjuna is not afraid. He sees the fear. He sees the collapse. He sees the part of Arjuna that wants to escape the burden of the moment. But he also fears something deeper. He sees that beneath Arjuna's fear, there is duty, there is purpose, there is a soul being summoned into maturity. And that is often how the fear works. Fear shows up at the place we are being asked to grow. Right before the hard conversation, right before the honest decision, right before the responsibility. Fear does not always feel like fear. Sometimes it feels like exhaustion. Sometimes it's an excuse. Sometimes it sounds like, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I am not strong enough. Maybe I should just go back to what is familiar. But Krishna's message to Arjuna is not cruel. It is not shame. It is holy interruption. It is the voice that says, you are more than this collapse. You are more than this bad day. You are more than this Monday. So the third mantra is, I will rise from weakness of heart. And that brings us to our fourth mantra. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, always do what you are afraid to do. He presents this in his essay, Heroism, as counsel given to a young man. And there is something sharp in that line. Because Emerson is not saying, do not be afraid. Do everything dangerous. He is not saying, be reckless. He is not saying, ignore wisdom and run blindly into the fire. He is saying something deeper. He is saying that fear often stands at the edge of your becoming. Fear is often posted like a guard at the doorway of the life you keep saying that you want. The conversation you are afraid to have. The apology you are afraid to make. And the boundary you're afraid to set. And the dream you are afraid to begin. The version of yourself you are afraid to start becoming. And Emerson's philosophy was built around self-trust. Not selfishness, not arrogance, but the courage to listen to the deeper law written inside of you. The courage to stop living only by the noise of the crowd. The courage to stop outsourcing your soul. And the courage to say, there is something in me that knows the way forward. Even when my fear would rather keep me hidden. So this mantra is, the fear is not the wall. The fear is the door. And our fifth and final mantra comes from our good friend Jesus. Jesus says, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Matthew 6:34. There is a deep mercy in this teaching. Jesus is not saying there will be no trouble. He does not say life will never be heavy. And he does not say you will never have to face anything. Each day has enough trouble of its own. In other words, there is a burden assigned to each day. Fear wants you to carry today, tomorrow, next month, next year, and every imagined disaster all at once. Fear wants to turn your mind into a prophet of doom. It says, what if this falls apart? What if I'm not strong enough? What if the worst thing happens? What if I cannot handle what is coming? And before anything has ever happened, your soul is already exhausted. And now procrastinating or creating new excuses within your internal narrative. This is why the words of Jesus can be helpful here. He is calling us back to the present, back to the breath in our lungs, back to the ground beneath our feet, back to the work of this one day, because most of the fear that rules us does not come from what is happening. It comes from what we imagine might happen. Jesus teaches us not to live under the tyranny of tomorrow. So the final mantra is, I will not borrow fear for tomorrow. Not because tomorrow does not matter, but because tomorrow does not belong in the throne of your soul. Tomorrow is not today. Today is where your life is happening. Today is where your courage is needed. It's where your focus is needed. It's where your intention is needed. Sometimes courage is waking up and saying, I will handle what is mine to handle. I will face what is actually in front of me. And remember, my fellow strangers, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is treading on, traversing forward, despite being afraid. It is bravery to step towards what you are afraid with fear and trembling. But something in you, moving you, it's stronger than the fear. A courage that in itself is also a leap of faith. And I'm going to leave this here. If you're listening on YouTube, like and subscribe and leave a little comment. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, like or leave a review. And if you heard anything in here that you found helpful or that intrigued you, by all means, share with a friend or on social media. Alright, until next time, my fellow stranger, let us keep traversing this strange world. Let's always be introspective. Let's always be curious. Let's always be courageous. And let's remember to be neighborly to folks. Because we're just kind of thrown into this whole life thing that we don't know a whole lot about. So at the end of the day, we're all just strangers in a strange land. Until next time, peace.